Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lake Life Weekend Podcast. I'm Dirk, I'm your host, and we are approaching weekend 9 this February of 2020. And stay tuned for a really interesting interview with Miss Minnesota. I have met Miss North Dakota, I even met Miss Canada once, but I have never spent as much time with a competing young woman for such a big prize, or title I should say. And I was surprised to learn so much about the organization, especially what they have transformed to and what they're actually about and what they're doing for young women here in North America. This was a very interesting visit with Kathryn Kueppers, who is the 2019 Miss Minnesota. And she came to Detroit Lakes during the Polar Fest events to speak about her Invisible Crown mission, and you will hear all about this in our interview part, which I don't want to keep you from too long. Please, thank you for tuning in. Go to our website, lakelifeweekend.com, to learn more about Lake Life in West Central Minnesota, and also email us to hello@lakelifeweekend.com with ideas, updates, or suggestions for our program. We very much appreciate and look forward to hearing from you. We actually just received an email last week from a new resident to Pelican Lake. Welcome. And they requested to subscribe to our magazine, which makes us proud, yes. And thank you for finding the last fall issue at your friend's house and asking for the latest version, which just went to print, and we will send it to you the first week of March. Yes, our spring issue is coming, and also please don't forget to mark your calendars for March 20th, Friday, at the Civic Center for our Lake Life season kickoff party with lots of prizes, lots of games, and then a live concert, first pre-show with the Crop Dusters, and then Tripwire live on stage with a great big concert for you. More details also in our magazine to come. Yeah, I don't want to keep this much longer from our interview with Kathryn Kueppers from St. Paul, Miss Minnesota 2019. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great weekend ahead. Welcome to our interview part. I'm here with Kathryn Kueppers. Hi, Kathryn.
Hello, it's so good to be here.
Thank you for coming on such short notice. Actually, we just connected, I think, not even a week ago.
Not even, no. Very short notice, but fun nonetheless.
Thank you. And I just reached out over our digital platforms after I read that you will be part of our Polar Fest program in Detroit Lakes.
Yes, it's been really fun so far. I'm loving what I'm seeing of Polar Fest.
That's really cool. So you are Miss Minnesota.
I am indeed, for 2019.
2019, and I guess into 2020.
And a little bit into 2020, yes.
Yeah. And I was curious because I honestly don't know too much about competing for what it all means to be Miss Minnesota or Miss State, let's say. And I was interested because you came up to our neck of the woods, to West Central Minnesota, and be part of our winter festivals. And I thought that was opportunity enough to be part of our Lake Life Weekend program, because one may think, what does Miss Minnesota have to do with our podcast? But you are from Minnesota, you are Lake Life, and you are a guest in our area, and I thought that was great opportunity. And who gets to meet Miss Minnesota so easily? So with my press credentials, I got a hold of you. So thank you very much for coming.
Oh, it's perfect. I mean, on Miss Minnesota on a Lake Life podcast, it just seemed it's one of those things. I was like, I have to do this. I have to be part of this podcast. So this is really exciting for me.
Cool, thank you. So tell us who you are a little bit, where you're from, how you got into competing, and then I think it's very interesting to learn what it means, what the organization is, and then I think you have a mission within your what is it, with your win or majesty? Like
yes,
with your,
my majesty, yes, you can call it that.
In your universe now with the 1 year, and I know a little bit about it, but you have something called Kathryn Kueppers and the Invisible Crown.
Yes, I do. You know more than most people already. You've done your homework.
Yeah, and like, of course, that would be then interesting to learn what that means and what it means to you and what you have been doing during your Miss Minnesota status or
state. Yeah, my tenure maybe.
10
year of service, we'll call it sometimes as well.
So who is Kathryn?
Oh my goodness. You ever get that question, then you just forget who you are. You're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Well, I'm from Minnesota originally. I'm born and raised in St. Paul in the cities. So it's really fun for me to be more up north, get a little bit more of that lake life mentality. Being part of Polar Fest, I feel like I'm, gaining my Minnesota credentials. I was just in a hot dish competition, which was fitting because I do have a culinary arts degree.
Oh.
So, yes. So I'm currently 21 years old and I'm in school, but I took a bit of a hiatus, like a little roundabout college tour, and I just did 2 years for culinary school.
Got my chef, to become a chef.
Yep, correct? To become a chef. And funny enough, halfway through, not even, almost done with culinary school, I'm about to graduate, and I decided I wanted to change my career again, and I decided that I wanted to become a family consumer science educator. Now, you look confused. So that is basically new age home economics. Home economics has been revamped, put into the schools, and it's a lot more relevant to what kids need to know today. It's not just baking cookies, it's nutrition skills, it's child psychology, preparation to become a parent. So I realized basically as a chef, have you ever heard the phrase, give a man a fish, eat for a day, teach a man to fish, eat for life? Mm-hmm. I decided, as a chef, I would just be giving a man a fish every day, not really fulfilling anyone's need to be able to care for themselves. As a teacher, I get to prepare our youth on what it will mean to take care of themselves, to cook and clean, and essentially be an educated, well-rounded young adult. So after doing a roundabout, deciding to do culinary school, I graduated from that, and I'm now on track to become an educator.
Oh, I think this is really interesting, and that maybe let's hesitate there for a moment.
Yes.
So, what is that degree?
It's called FCS Education.
And that will be part of like a high school environment, or
yep.
where?
I'll either teach high school or junior high. Yep.
And that is a new upcoming class again?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's been reinstituted in schools. Not many schools have it.
I love it because I in my professional experience and with young professionals, or even with my friends, I learned that they struggle with budgeting.
Yes, that's part of this.
And then I see them struggle with nutrition, which I'm not saying, but with eating or cooking at home or interesting, though I can prove, and I'm 40, let's say, and the generation between 30 and 40 that must have not enjoyed that class. I'm glad that my son is 11, so if he arrives in high school,
he will probably have these classes.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yes.
So that's really interesting because I don't even know where I learned budgeting. I mean, I have a banking degree, so I kind of know.
Okay, probably there. Yes, you probably got it from your banking degree.
But I think I knew it from I don't know if it was school. Anyhow, interesting. So you have a career goal of and I think that is we deep dive now into this competing and now
the Miss Minnesota world.
Yeah, because but keep going. I think it's fascinating. So how did you come to competing in a what is it? What is it about?
So it's a good question. More recently, Miss America. So I'm part of the Miss America organization. I'll briefly describe that. Miss America is a scholarship organization, and they are rebranding themselves also. So they're no longer a pageant. They're calling themselves just a competition because pageant just has a lot of negative stereotypes to it. So
I think I read something a couple years back.
Yes, we eliminated swimsuit. We are focusing on the service, on the scholarships. A lot of the competition is based in public speaking, communication skills, interview skills.
So it's not body?
No,
like
it's not body-based anymore. Oh my gosh, we were eating so much candy backstage. We ate at the buffet every day. Mashed potatoes and ice cream for dinner. It was great. Yeah, I'm enjoying no swimsuit competition.
So it's more social skills and
social skills,
and
professional building. And I got involved actually. So my mother is a former Miss Minnesota. So she's been involved with the organization since the 1980s. And just stayed involved with it. She loved it. And even back in the 1980s, Miss America was first and foremost based in scholarships. So everything that you win once you compete in this program is scholarship money for your education. It goes straight to your school. Yep.
Oh.
You didn't know that, did you?
No.
Yep.
Okay.
That was added to Miss America in the 1940s. The woman who was running the organization wanted to encourage young women to go to college. It wasn't as common back then. So she decided that from that point on, Miss America would only give out scholarship prizes. And today, we are the largest provider of scholarship assistance to women, I think, in the world, at least nationwide, that's for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So that is sort of the two reasons that I became involved. Is my mother introduced me to the organization. We used to watch Miss Minnesota when I was growing up, but the scholarships became very attractive when I was in high school and trying to budget for college and figure out what on earth it would mean to pay for that.
Okay.
Yes, so this is one of the ways that I'm working to pay for my education.
Okay. So very interesting. How many individuals or women I guess what's the age? First of all, what's the age limit maybe, and then how many
okay,
competed?
it recently changed. You're quizzing me here. So I want to say it's 18 to 24, 25 is the cutoff.
Okay.
So I don't think you can be 26 competing at Miss America.
Okay. And then how many were in Minnesota? Like, was it 20?
So there was 25 women competed in Minnesota, but what you need to know is that Miss America is like a pyramid. So Miss America, that title, is at the top. Every woman wants to be Miss America. The women who compete for Miss America are the state title holders, myself. The women who compete for the state title holders are local title holders. And anyone can compete for a local title, but you have to win a local title to compete for a state title.
Really?
Yes. So I was competing with 25 women, but it was 25 women who had already competed to just get on that stage.
Sure.
Yes.
And then you were Miss St. Cloud?
I was Miss
St. Paul? Sorry.
No, I was actually Miss Coon Rapids. Miss St. Paul is currently not a competition. It was, but then the woman that ran that took over the state organization. So kind of up in the arms to see who takes that over. So I was Miss Coon Rapids. And then I won Miss Minnesota this past year. And fun fact, one of the first appearances I had as Miss Minnesota was actually here in Detroit Lakes. You have a local competition here called Miss Northern Lakes, something like that. I feel terrible that I'm blanking on the name.
Yes, I don't know it either, but I read it before.
Yes, and it's held here in Detroit Lakes. So I got to come here when it was summer, and then now again in the winter for Polar Fest. So I feel like I'm kind of becoming acclimated to this community.
So how was it like to be in that competition? How many?
Stressful.
Was it?
Yes.
Was it 1 day? Was it 3 days? How many different competitions within the competition? You know what I mean?
Yes. So the breakdown of Miss Minnesota, at the very least, it's a week. It's a week-long commitment. So you get there, and there's a whole week of rehearsals and preparing for the competition, and there's events, and sometimes there's fundraisers. So it's a whole week of social events.
Mm-hmm.
The actual judged competition starts about 3 days before the final night. So there's 2 nights of preliminary competitions. You take a day break because those 2 nights are insanely stressful. Mm-hmm. And then the final night, they start the competition by announcing the top 15 or so, or I think it's top 10. They start the final night of competition announcing the top 10, and the top 10 then compete for the title of Miss Minnesota on the final night. So the 2 preliminary nights of competition determine the scores of who will make it to that first cut.
Okay.
And then the competition after that, it progressively gets cut down. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what on earth we do while we compete.
What was it?
Yep. So you start the whole competition with a private interview. Kind of like this, only it's like 7 people, and they're rapid firing questions, and you have 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
Put you under stress and stuff, or
yes, I mean,
a little bit?
you get to a point. I mean, for me, I have different strategies to cope for that. You know, I just practice being grateful, or kind of distracting myself by thinking of like, oh, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for breakfast I ate this morning. Silly little things to sort of calm you down. It's like a thing that I do
behind the scenes. Like
I'm sitting outside like, oh, distracting. Pancakes were really good this morning. You get into the interview. Ideally, you're calm. And then you are rapid fire of questions, and you're answering them for about 10 minutes. You have 30 seconds to then just wrap up whatever it is you want to say. So I made a little pitch of why I should be Miss Minnesota. And then once you get on the stage, that's a behind the scenes, no one sees that competition. When you're on the stage, the first portion of competition is an onstage question. And that is usually something that you talked about in your interviews. Let's just say you were my judge in an interview. You asked me all about my talent. Well, probably my onstage question would then be based on my talent. So you answer that question, just one.
What's talent? Like, what does it mean? Skill? Like,
it's, I'll get to that. The next phase of competition is the talent phase of competition. And everybody, it's whatever you would want to do. For me, I sing. Some women dance. Some women play instruments. Some women, our current Miss America, did a science experiment because she's studying to be a pharmacist, and so she has taken a lot of science-related classes and is in STEM. So she felt that her talent would be best represented by doing a science experiment. So she did that.
Really?
Yes. I've seen some women do yoga demonstrations because they feel that that's their talent. So there's a wide range of what is defined in the encompass of talent.
Maybe play tennis or something? No, not really.
I mean, they should. I mean, hey, maybe.
No, but I didn't
we'll
know.
See.
So
yes.
talent. So what, like your personal... Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So for me, I love to sing. It's something I've studied for a couple years.
What song?
Well, okay, so I love jazz. So I doubt you're going to know these songs, but they're old jazz standards. So I sang when I won Miss Minnesota. It's called In a Sentimental Mood. Mm-hmm. It's an old jazz standard. And then at Miss America, I sang Nature Boy, which it was probably one of the original jazz standards. It was written in the 1920s.
Okay.
And I love that era. It's very classic, very timeless. And not many people sing jazz in pageant competitions. It's just not common. So that was what I did for my talent competition. And then after talent, so let's say I've gone through interview, onstage question, talent, and then it is the evening wear portion of competition, which I'm guessing you've probably seen before.
Evening wear?
Yes, evening wear. So it's sort of, like a gown or something beautiful and elegant, whatever you would define that as. However, Miss America changed this as well. So I mentioned earlier, swimsuit competition is eliminated, so that's not part of the competition. And what they did instead is during the evening wear portion of competition, once you're done, walking across the stage and you look so pretty, they give you a microphone. And you have just 8 to 10 seconds to speak about why you should be Miss Minnesota, what you would do, what your impact would be, that sort of thing. So the very last thing you do in the competition is basically say, like, pick me, here's why. And it's stressful because you only have 8 seconds.
Yeah, that's not a lot of time.
No, it's not. So you learn how to use your words wisely. And then so that's the preliminary competition. Oh, goodness. This was 6 months ago.
Oh,
I said something to the effect of, well, actually, it was kind of dramatic. Naturally, because I had 10
8
seconds. 8 seconds. Okay, so I know I started with a dramatic statement. Okay, notice how when I walked in here, you said you didn't know much about Miss America. So I literally walked on stage, and mind you, there's a bunch of people in the room who know everything there is to know about Miss America. And I told them the vast majority of society knows nothing about Miss America. So as your next Miss Minnesota, I will make it my goal, first and foremost, to educate people and show them why we're still here. Because quite frankly, Miss America is suffering from a lack of media coverage, which is why I'm grateful you're having me here.
Yeah.
Not many people realize it's still around, that we've changed things, that we're scholarship-based. And so while many women will choose to advocate for a different separate cause, something like cancer-related or advocacy for the arts, I decided that I thought it'd be really important to just advocate for the organization itself and bring awareness to it.
Okay.
Yeah, no one's ever done that either. So I took a gamble and it worked. At least this year. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And now, it makes sense why you chose me.
Yes, full circle.
You allowed me to.
This is why I jumped on the opportunity
I actually like it because I had the same thought in a way. I wanted to know, and now you can actually explain to us then a little bit more in depth what it all bears and what we can all expect. One thing I really enjoy is the skills. My son is young and I want him to be brave.
Yeah.
He just gave a band concert
That's
last
so cool.
week. Yeah, and I realized, he plays the saxophone and he was only practicing for 4 months. But they could play. I thought it was a little, I cannot even say it in English, but squeaky. But he said, I think it was not so squeaky. So, okay, he was probably right. So it was beautiful, actually. And what I was impressed with, 5th graders, in front of all the students being as brave to perform.
Yes.
And
it takes a lot of guts to perform in front of people.
And I think your organization is also probably teaching the skill of confidence.
Yes. Absolutely.
And presentation. And so that being said, like, tell us a little bit more of the objectives of the overall organization.
So actually, it's funny you mentioned confidence. Miss America's mission, officially, is to prepare great women for the world and prepare the world for great women.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the idea, one thing I like to say is Miss America, the competition tends to attract women that are already pretty amazing. Women that, and then that's not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying the women that I've met through the organization already have huge aspirations. They're already active in their community. And what Miss America does is it offers you essentially a platform on which to elevate yourself. A competition that's challenging, that forces you to become confident in whoever you are and express that on a stage, right? Be able to answer questions, be able to share a talent you're passionate about. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And on top of that, once you have a local title, a state title, or even a national title, you now have a platform to speak, to advocate for yourself, or to advocate for something that you care about. So it, again, offers women the opportunity to elevate themselves. And usually some pretty incredible women end up doing even more incredible things from the connections that they make and the experiences that they have. Most 21-year-olds that I know don't have the opportunity to hang out in Detroit Lakes and be on a podcast. And this is a very unique opportunity that I have as a result of being Miss Minnesota. So all around, it is confidence boosting, but in some level, you have to be willing to start off confident in your ability to make this opportunity work for you. Someone who's able to look at themselves and realize, I have potential in this organization, so I'm going to work for it. I'm going to take every opportunity, even if it's a little bit scary maybe to do your first interview or to perform on a stage. I'm going to believe in my abilities, and I'm going to challenge myself to be in this competition. And every time I've met a woman who maybe is hesitant to try it but decides to push herself through it, she learns so much about herself, and even if she doesn't win, she usually gains some type of scholarship compensation, because the winner isn't the only one who gets a scholarship. There are different, you can win a scholarship for the interview award, for a talent award. There's a couple of many local competitions will offer extra scholarships just in addition to the crown itself. So Miss America really, all in all, offers many great opportunities for young women.
So a couple of questions. I want to know where you all went since, what you all have done to get out. Not all, but like a couple highlights maybe.
I was going to say, I don't think I remember half of it.
No. But then maybe let's start first. And I think whether you won or not, but like what was the most win or experience that grew you during the whole process? Like what did you take out of it?
Oh my goodness.
Whether you won or not, you know what I mean? Like, because probably all of them, like you almost said it, but like, how did you overcome that stress, or like how did you stay calm? I know that you just said like, oh yeah, I was thinking of pancakes in the morning, but give us a little bit more tips, like how. Well, a little bit. It's really interesting.
Well, gratitude is a huge thing. I think the biggest thing is grace under pressure. And because it's funny you mention whether or not you win, what did you take out of it? One thing I tell everyone who competes is that you should always have a goal going into the competition aside from winning. Do you want to, let's just say, for example, your son was competing. Let's say his goal is maybe to do the best saxophone performance ever. To just really challenge himself with a new piece and sell it. I'll tell women oftentimes to find something like that so that they know, win or lose the actual crown, they've learned something. Because I believe if you learn something, you've won in any situation. So the easiest thing I've said is, the easiest way to put that is that if you're, let's just say, competing in a competition, your goal is to simply compete against who you were yesterday and be the better person today. Or let's say I competed at Miss Minnesota last year and this year. My goal this year was to compete against who I was last year and be 10 times better. Pushing yourself to the next level. And again, that grace under pressure. What does it mean to walk into an interview and be calm? Well, for me, I learned, and it is different for everyone, I learned that if I stand outside and I think of silly things that I'm grateful for, I'm so grateful for the water in my hand, I'm so grateful for the pancakes that I ate. It's a funny way of getting myself out of my head. I'm not thinking, what are they going to ask me? Are they going to challenge me? I'm thinking about how great life is. And then you walk into the interview and you're thinking about how great those pancakes were. You're thinking about how grateful you are for your friends. So then when they ask you your first question, instead of being nervous about it, I'm already kind of in a good mood because I've put myself in a place of gratitude. That specifically is a very strange technique that I've had to learn over a couple of years. And many women will find their own technique to achieve that grace under pressure. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. Yeah,
There's a lot I'm throwing at you, though. I can tell you.
No. Yeah, I think it's fascinating. The competition sounds more healthy or more
well-rounded.
More rounded, or like more depth then one maybe think
Oh,
I don't like
absolutely.
shallow things. And if you think of bikinis and just the looks of a competition or pageant,
Yes, it
let's
doesn't
call it the
relate.
pageant.
Yeah.
And then if we evolved from that, and I think it's a very contemporary competition
It is,
where it
yeah.
comes to skill, and then elevate young individuals, in this case women, I guess. I don't even know if we have a guys pageant like that. Do we have a prince walking
Actually,
around?
it's pretty common that people will ask me, like, well, where's Mr. Minnesota? So I don't know
Yeah.
if you want to start it here in Detroit Lakes. I will support
Maybe,
you. But
I don't know.
I do
Mr.
know,
Western Minnesota.
yes, I do know that there was a Mr. Minnesota competition that was a bodybuilding convention, and that was, to my understanding, extremely shallow. And funny enough, it was held once the same building as Miss Minnesota the same weekend, and so people kept getting lost on their way, to Miss Minnesota, and would end up in this bodybuilding convention with a bunch of men in bikini and thongs. It was comical. Yes. Yes, that was a very interesting year. So there is that, but I don't know if that is still even running.
Yeah. No, I think actually learning about that and the experience and more the talent, and then scholarships to actually, with the goal to promote education and further education, and then it's a good mission for the organization, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But now tell us what you did with it, with your promise. What are some of the highlights where you think, hey, I went to Duluth or wherever you did, and then maybe what did you do, and how do you feel about communicating the mission? Do you have an example?
Well, yeah. So as I said, my biggest goal was to increase the awareness around this organization and possibly even increase the involvement.
Yep.
And so, of course, appearing on different media channels, I've made a point of trying to take any and every opportunity to do an interview in the media, and that has actually even led me all the way to New York to appear on CNBC's On the Money. The national, so I was able to do a national interview and discuss the Miss America organization as a whole, and that was fun because my mom came, so they wanted to highlight the mother-daughter story and then actually ask about, so what is Miss America about nowadays? Why do you do this? And so I think I was able to reach a much larger audience than I ever anticipated when I was able to appear on that national interview. In addition to that, I produce videos on my own. So actually my mom and I will do that together, and I'll kind of it's almost like a family effort. We'll get people together and I'll produce videos that are educational on the Miss America organization. Oftentimes I'll get together different title holders who have been involved with us and show what are they doing now. What is, all these women in different professions that are currently working in many different fields, and what is the common theme? Oh, they were all Miss Minnesotas. So I've done a lot to market the organization through my own video work with the Invisible Crown. And so the Invisible Crown is sort of the title I've given my service work, and I call it that because I like to say that once you give away the crown, you always still sort of have one because of the growth that you experience. So it's an invisible crown, a representation of your own personal growth. And so I've done a lot in the media with that. But additionally, I have been traveling all over the state. So I've been to Detroit Lakes, but once before, as I said. I've been, oh my goodness, to too many cities within the state that I can even remember. And in every one of them, I usually find an opportunity to speak to the community or the community event that I'm at and just discuss, who am I? Why am I here? What does this mean? Potentially, how can that benefit you and the women in your community? And it's really been a huge pleasure of mine to be able to answer people's questions about this organization and sort of see that nod, like maybe I want to be involved with this. So those are just a few, I suppose you could say, highlights, getting to just really discuss my passion for this organization.
Did you always had just positive feedback, or did you also have some negative
Oh,
feedback?
there's been
or
negative
challenges?
feedback for sure.
Give us some of that, like misunderstandings, or did
Yes.
people push you, or like how
Well,
were those?
you'll remember when you started this interview, I said, you can push me on anything. So the reason I say that I'm never going to be offended by a question anymore, and I really put myself in a sticky situation here. I decided I was going to do a video and ask people on the street what they knew about Miss America. Now, mind you, I knew that they weren't going to know anything. I was not expecting some of the people's guesses, which were comical. So I did these man-on-the-street videos. I did one at the state fair, which was mildly regrettable because a lot of inebriated audience members there. And I did another one at the Mall of America. So as I'm walking around, and I didn't have crown or sash on, so people didn't know I was Miss Minnesota. And I would walk up and I'd ask people, hey, what do you know about Miss America? And the initial responses were rather negative. Oh, it's just a beauty pageant. Oh, these women are... I think one woman just said, like, vapid beauty queens. Another I think man just said, I think it's just a bunch of women who are pretty and stand around. They didn't know anything. what was wonderful about it was I was able to respond and say, well, actually, Miss America isn't about that. We eliminated swimsuit. Or, well, actually, Miss America is about scholarships. And so after the initial rather shocking negative reactions to Miss America, the stereotypes, right, I was able to break down those stereotypes and explain to them what the organization was about. And every single time it was met with insanely positive reactions. So it was really fun to do that.
Yeah.
And those are on YouTube too. So you can watch me watch people insult me and then tell them why they're wrong.
Okay, yeah. Is it under the Invisible Crown?
Yes, I think if you scroll down, yes, it's on the Facebook page on the Invisible Crown.
Okay.
I think I actually just uploaded them straight to Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. Little
I will
shameless
check
plug.
those out.
Yeah, sort of fun.
So you took 1 year off from your education right
I did.
now, and the tenure is 1 year, and that's when you have time. Do you get funded during this whole time and a scholarship, or like how does that work to take 1 year off?
So it is partially dependent on myself. So Miss Minnesota, I do get paid for appearances, almost every appearance. There are some appearances, I will make appearances at the Children's Hospital. Children's Miracle Network Hospitals is the national platform for Miss America, so we're partnered with them.
Okay.
Every appearance I make there is free. So similarly, there are many appearances. This benefits me. So there are many things like that. But also, I have the opportunity to pursue work for myself with this title. Pursue different. How would I put this? Essentially appearances, or I do speaking tours as well as Miss Minnesota. And so if I can get myself paid work, then that'll be really beneficial. There are always set-in appearances that are paid every year-round that every Miss Minnesota can do. The trick with it is that every Miss Minnesota has a different platform, right? A different point of advocacy. So 1 year she advocated for the Epilepsy Foundation. Another Miss Minnesota advocated for juvenile arthritis. Another Miss Minnesota had a goal of giving out free dance classes. So with a different goal every single year, it's hard to find consistent paid work every single year, which is, again, why I took this year to be specifically based on how great this organization is, because I can do appearances that any Miss Minnesota can do because they're based on women or the organization or community involvement, which are everybody can get behind. So again, this year has been focused on growing and gaining appearances and year-round paying appearances for future Miss Minnesotas. So again, I do get paid. It's a little bit up to me though to find how many appearances I can get paid with. In addition to that, I did win a $10,000 scholarship when I won this title.
For schooling.
For school, yes.
And reserved for that.
Yes, it actually, that money doesn't even pass through my hands. They go straight to my school. When I give up my crown, I get the money. So I won that. In addition to that, I won a talent award. I won an onstage interview award. I won a couple of other awards. So my scholarship was closer to around $12,000 when I actually ended Miss Minnesota Week. Again, because you don't just win scholarships for getting the crown.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
When you were in Detroit Lakes just now, and hot dish is a truly Minnesota.
Yeah, it's the most Minnesota thing there is about Minnesota. Yes.
Yeah. So, were you just? Did you make one too?
I did. Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Really?
Last night at midnight. Yes, I made one. So I was actually, funny enough, appearing at my old high school. I keep saying like, oh, you made it when your high school wants you to come back. So they had me come back last evening. I emceed an event for them. Very fun seeing all my old high school teachers that used to love me. And so I got back from that event and I had to make the hot dish last night because I was traveling with it today. So I made it last night, traveled with it today, and then I had to sort of finish it and reheat it today here in Detroit Lakes, submit it to the competition. I did not win, but it did receive positive feedback. I will take that. But the person who won, it was the best hot dish I've ever tasted. So it was deserving. It was well deserved. But it was, honestly, just as Miss Minnesota getting to partake in a hot dish competition, that was just such a highlight.
But you didn't arrive to enter in the competition. Did you also pass out, or did you speak, or what was your appearance?
Yes. The main point to come was to be again involved in the community and just sort of spread the word about Miss America.
So you had a little stage, a little audience, or you spoke to them?
I was able to speak a little bit about the organization, what we do, discuss the scholarships, the talent, what I do. But beyond that, I love getting on a stage to speak to people, but what I really love is getting to talk to people one-on-one. And when I'm at an event like a hot dish competition and everyone knows that I've submitted a hot dish and it's kind of like I'm one of the people in the community, I get the opportunity to speak one-on-one with people and have personal conversations, much like we're having, about this organization and about why I'm involved. And I think that's where the real advocacy takes place. It's great to be on TV, on a podcast, and I'm very grateful for this. It's also wonderful when I get to meet people I never would have met otherwise and share a little bit of my passion. And I got to do a lot of that today and eat hot dish, and it was phenomenal. It was the best thing ever.
So now, since you're from Minnesota and St. Paul is not necessarily lakes country.
No, it's not.
What is like? Did you grow up with the lakes? Did you
yes
go to the lakes as a child? Or tell us a little bit about your lake life.
Of course I did. Okay. I am from Minnesota after all. Well,
what's your lake life?
I'm very fortunate. My family does have a cabin on a lake.
Okay.
So we'll spend whenever we can in the winter and the summers up there. So I mean, I spent every summer trying to learn how to water ski. I'll be honest, I'm still terrible at it. I have no balance. It's fine. Tubing's always my favorite. But
what
I'm
area?
from it's actually, don't ask me. It's in Wisconsin.
Oh, what?
I'm sorry. I know. It's a lake in
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Either Wisconsin or
yes.
Brainerd, whatever,
yes.
Duluth area.
Yes, it's one of the two. So I'm in Wisconsin, but just it's right over the river.
Yeah,
it's
right
practically
there.
Minnesota.
Yeah. But okay, let's call it lake.
But it's like it's nonetheless, yes, there is a lake, and not a boat. What I love about it though is I'm from the cities, so I get that city life. It's always hustle and bustle. Downtown St. Paul is 5 minutes from my door. Downtown Minneapolis is 15 minutes from my door, and it's my favorite thing to just get away to quiet woods, probably make my favorite hot dish, and just spend time with my family. You know, every New Year's we're always up there in the frozen cold, and we'll usually, take a little walk out to the lake walk on the frozen water, and enjoy that. Right after Miss America this year, actually, when I was literally spent 12 days in just a hub of humanity and competing and high stress and constantly with people, I came back home. It was New Year's, because Miss America was right around Christmas.
Okay.
I came home, it was New Year's, and I got to go back to my lake life, go back to the cabin, just be in my sweats and hang out with my family, play board games, try not to get too cold. It was just wonderful. So I love the peacefulness of lake life, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
I think you will never leave Minnesota, right?
I doubt it.
Yeah,
I love it here.
yeah. It's what I realize is that even if people move, whether they go to Seattle or something, Minnesotans or Midwest, they usually come back.
They always come. Often they'll go to Florida for a little while, and then they'll get really sick of it and miss the snow, even though they complain about it all the time, and then they'll come back, and then they'll spend the rest of their life here. That's how that goes.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe I'll be one of those. Maybe I'll move away for a year, but I know I'm going to probably spend the majority of my life in Minnesota.
I can sense that. Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool. Was there anything else that you wanted to point out or that I didn't ask that you wanted to share?
You really hit everything, but I have to say, I have really loved my time here in Detroit Lakes. I mean, it is... everyone I meet today, I'm like, you're the classic Minnesotan, and I love this. Because sometimes down in the cities, it is the hub where people love to move here, which is phenomenal. But then the cities often feel like this hub of, a bunch of people from California or Illinois, and I've loved traveling the state and getting to know real hearty Minnesotans, just great people. They've got that great Minnesota nice attitude. And today's just been full of that, and it's just made my heart so happy. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your story, and thanks for coming.
Perfect
There's
timing.
the train.
There's the train. There's the perfect
train.
time.
Usually always in the program. Well,
I love it.
You must be exhausted, and I don't want to keep you too much. You had a stretch of a weekend and made it to come to see us here too. Thank you again for coming, and then have a great weekend ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, and if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com, and you have a wonderful weekend ahead.